Showcasing local talent, professionals, and everyday people making Salt Lake City what it is today. It's time for another episode of the I Am Salt Lake podcast.
Hopefully you guys had a good weekend. I know I did. This is a really awesome time of the year here in Salt Lake City. The sun is shining. The weather's great. It's nice to get out and enjoy a park. It's nice to barbecue with some family and friends and just be outside and enjoy the sunshine. I mean, this is great weather. Hey, everybody. Thank you. Thank you so much for checking out another episode of the I Am Salt Lake podcast. This is episode 163. Michael Eccleston, he's a bartender at Bar X right in downtown Salt Lake City. He joins me on this episode. Anyways, let's get some business out of the way really quick. The website for the podcast, iamsaltlake.com. Everything podcast related right there on the website. I got all the previous episodes. You can download them. You can stream them right there from the website. Links for iTunes, Stitcher Radio, where you can subscribe. There's also a link to support the podcast where you can donate $1 or $2. It helps keep the podcast going. It helps with new equipment, helps with website hosting. You know, doing this podcast is not cheap. And so for those of you that have supported, thank you so much. Seriously, it means the world to me that you guys are helping keep the podcast going. Feel free to follow me on Twitter at I Am Salt Lake. Search for the podcast I Am Salt Lake on Facebook. Connect with me. I'd love to hear from each and every one of you and what you think about the podcast. So now that I got the business out of the way, why don't we jump into the conversation that I had with Michael Eccleston at the American Musicians Radio Studio here in Salt Lake City, Utah. Michael Eccleston, he's on the podcast today. I'm going to start off, tell the listeners who you are and what you're about, what you do.
Okay.
I know that's kind of a lot to throw on you right off the beginning, but just kind of give a little synopsis of who you are.
So my name is Michael Eccleston. I'm a craft cocktail bartender. I'm currently bartending at Bar X. I'm on the council for the Utah Bartenders Guild, the Utah chapter of the United States Bartenders Guild, the USBG. It's easier to just abbreviate it. But yeah, so I'm on the council for the USBG. And I run the We Drink SLC Instagram account. And I do lots of other things, I guess.
Yeah. And I want to get into each one of those things. I just figured kind of let you tell a little bit. And then in case I didn't know of something that you did do. Yeah. Now, you bartended at a few places, right?
Yeah. So I actually started my career as in the service industry. I served tables, I opened Copper Onion.
Now, when you say open, like literally help them open their doors, like from the beginning?
I was, we did all the training before, soft openings, all that stuff. So I was part of the Copper Onion family for about 4 years. So I went from Copper Onion to Plum Alley. I started actually bartending at Plum Alley. And then I ran the beverage program at Plum Alley once Plum Alley got their dining club license, is what they call it. And then they shut it down and then opened Copper Common. And then now I'm at Bar X. So
Cool. And I want to actually get into that, but actually let's back up a little bit here. I kind of jumped the gun. I want to find out a little bit about your story. You know, give listeners a chance to get to know Michael. Did you grow up here in Utah? Where did you grow up?
Yeah. I grew up in Layton.
Okay. So Davis County.
Yeah, or Layton, I guess is how it should be pronounced.
That's a weird city, man. It's weird up north. No offense to my listeners, but I lived in Farmington for a minute.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Oh gosh. Anyway,
it's suburb life. It's very different. Grew up Mormon.
I didn't know if we wanted to get into that, especially since we're talking alcohol and drinking and kind of your upbringing.
Yeah.
Now a strict Mormon?
No. So my dad was Catholic. So he drank and stuff in college, and he essentially converted for my mom when they got married. So, I grew up going to some Catholic mass as well as Mormon services. So like my whole dad's side of the family is like Catholic. They drink and all that stuff. So I was used to seeing like alcohol at Thanksgiving. I wasn't like super strict. Didn't go on a mission. We pretty much went to church on Mother's Day and on Easter. And
so the good church days, the days you're supposed to go.
The ones that make your mom happy. You go to those days. But yeah, I mean, grew up Mormon.
Big family?
No, I mean, my mom's family's big. My dad's family's big. My family's just
like siblings.
Three boys.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm the youngest of 3 boys. So.
Okay. And then you ventured eventually down into Salt Lake.
Yeah. I came. So when I graduated high school, I moved up to college. I went to college at the University of Utah.
Oh, what'd you go to school for?
I got a film degree.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, film and media arts. And then I got a minor in gender studies and a minor in classic civilizations. So,
would you like to eventually do anything with film studies or anything with film or?
I really love film. I did after I graduated college. I ran a company with one of my best friends for about a year after college. It's terrible. Getting paid for art is like the worst. It is like the most soul sucking thing that happens.
Why is that? Why?
I mean, you have vision and and artistic, like whatever. You have, you have a vision for like projects for people, but then at the end of the day, these like 80-year-old businessmen who don't know anything about filmmaking are the ones making the final call on things.
Yeah.
And then you have to then what happens is you end up putting out a product you're not proud of. And it's just kind of soul sucking. It's like, just let me. I mean, because it's an art form that you're being paid for commission for. I mean, I didn't like. I love making, like, as far as creativity wise, and I love writing, but I do not like. I don't like having to answer to anyone.
I got
when it comes to anything artistic. So.
When did you get into like bartending or the service industry then, and while you were going to the U?
I mean, I guess I technically was in the service industry in high school. I was working at Quiznos in high school. I was a night manager of Quiznos, which is a terrible idea to ever put a teenager into any sort of position of
what kind
authority.
of stuff? What were you doing? Like what? I mean, I'm sure you just got away with murder, right? What's the craziest thing you did? I know the food industry. You guys.
Yeah. The worst thing was we used to close down early all the time, and we would like have airsoft battles, like airsoft guns. We'd shoot each other with airsoft guns, and then like the next day the day manager would find little pellets in the food, so it was bad. It was bad. That was really bad. That was like when I was like 16 years old. So I've come a long way, but, so I guess that's where I started. I did hosting and, busing and stuff at various restaurants. And then when I was 21, I was able to serve at Copper Onion.
So wait, was it Copper Onion or Plum Alley that you were first, or
I first bartended at Plum Alley.
Okay.
So I switched over to Plum Alley when they opened. I took a brief hiatus between Copper Onion and Plum Alley. Yeah, so they wanted to expand the cocktail program. So, I mean, we basically, myself and Maureen Seagrave Daly, who now who's still in that family, runs Copper Common and does a great job.
Okay.
She, me and her kind of just figured stuff out. I didn't really ever have a super formal training
as far as making cocktails and pouring drinks
until later, when we were opening Copper Common, we wanted to take it really serious, take cocktails more seriously. And we got training from, Amy, Eldridge, who works at Bar X with me as well.
Okay.
So she did a formal training, but it was still,
like what's a training? I mean, talk about that. Like what are you doing? Like just how to make all the drinks, or?
Yeah. I mean, there's just lots of, there's different rules for different stuff. Like you shake any cocktail that has citrus in it needs to be shook shaken,
shook. I don't know.
Shaken, something, one of those words. Because it makes it's a texture thing, and you need to make the citrus to combine with the rest of the cocktail. It should be shooken. But if something's like no citrus, if it's like all booze, like a Manhattan or a martini, you stir those. It's just a more gentle way of incorporating the flavors together.
But before any of this training, I mean, were you just like winging it? I mean, did you know what you were doing?
I mean, yeah. I mean, a little bit of both. Like we were winging it, but at the same time, like you can learn a lot on the internet.
So somebody would order a drink, you would run to the back, quickly look it up on the internet, and I'm kidding.
At Plum Alley, that would happen every once in a while. We had our Zion curtain for a little while, so that happened a little bit. But no, I mean, just
the good old Zion curtain.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually came through. Right?
Yep. But yeah, just in my in your spare time, I mean, I still am always researching and teaching myself more. It's such a vast world. Cocktails are so, and ever changing too. There's hundreds of bars doing new things every day in the cocktail world. So, I mean, there's always something to nerd out on, you know?
I mean, are you like probably friends are having a party and they expect you to be the guy to make all the drinks, right?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I end up making cocktails a lot.
Or do you ever just get sick of parties and drinking?
I mean, I honestly don't. I make cocktails for my girlfriend mostly.
Yeah.
That's like, I don't do too many parties now. I don't want to. I'm not old. I'm only.
Well, you probably don't really get to drink too much if you're working,
right?
Because you can't drink on the job, right?
Yeah, exactly. You can't drink on the job. I mean, I always tell people I drink every day, like, and that like takes people aback a little bit. But it's like I drink beer because I like the way beer tastes. I'm not ever trying to. Not ever. Sometimes I am, but for the most part, I'm not trying to get wasted. That's never my goal. And so
But it's nice when you get there, right?
Yeah, but every once in a while it's nice. If you have a day off, it's good to get a little day drunk and stuff. But I mean, I think my Instagram account, the We Drink SLC, I'm posting on that constantly. And I always think people are going to think I'm an alcoholic because I'm posting the drinks that I'm drinking all the time. And it's just like, yeah, I mean, I drink every day, but the volume of what I drink is very low versus, and I think the other end of that is what a lot of people do is they don't drink all week and then they binge drink and puke on the weekends. And it's just like, I prefer my way. That's so much better. Yeah. It's like, it's just nice to enjoy a drink because you like the way it tastes. It has nothing to do with the alcohol. It's that I love the way cocktails taste. I love the way beer tastes. So
what was your first alcoholic drink? Like when not the one you made, but the first drink you ever tasted?
I think it was a Miller High Life. It was at a Halloween. It was like a college Halloween party, but.
And what'd you think of it?
I was 16. I don't know how we got in. I don't know what the deal was.
No, but the beer, was it gross to you?
Oh, the Miller High Life?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was terrible. I didn't even, actually, it's a funny story because the cops got called on the party and I ran out the back door, jumped the fence and got my car. And I was there with a buddy. So I was like, slowly driving in front of the house looking for him, waiting for him so I could get him and we could leave.
Yeah.
And I got pulled over by the cops that busted the party. I don't know what I was thinking. I was 16. I was stupid. Yeah, I mean, and they breathalyzed me because I was leaving a party and I was underage and they breathalyzed me and I blew zeros. So the fact that I hated Miller High Life kept me from getting a DUI, I guess. Because I drank like literally a sip of it and that was it.
You were like, I'm done.
Yeah. And because if you're under 21, there's the not a drop law. So if you have any alcohol in your system, it's DUI if you're under 21. So yeah. but
that's
I
not
blew
just a
zeros.
Utah thing, though.
That's pretty nationwide.
Yeah, U.S. wide.
Mm-hmm.
And that actually kind of leads me to that. Might as well talk about that kind of. I think people here in Utah are so quick to knock on all the alcohol laws here in Utah. I mean, do you really think? I mean, as a bartender, I mean, what do you think some of the biggest differences are with our liquor laws here in Utah versus out of state? I mean, what are some things that are different, I guess?
So the big thing is the Berg system. So the clickers that anyone who lives here knows.
And that's just a Utah thing, right?
Yeah. I think Utah is the only state that requires them. I mean, the company is based out of
little things that go on top of the bottles.
Yeah. It's called a Berg, BERG. That's the biggest thing. Because no one it looks weird more than anything else. I mean, I tell people all the time because people will be like, oh, 1 ounce. I mean, I defend Utah's liquor laws like every day at work, even though
you don't always agree with it,
even though they're terrible. And I genuinely would love to see many, like almost all of them change. I'm constantly defending them to people.
Because you probably deal with a lot of tourists that are always asking.
Yes, we get out of people from out of town all the time. And the misconception that people have is that first of all, with the Bergs, they think that it is measuring an ounce exactly, and that's it. That's all said and done. It's not true. I can make my Berg pour a half ounce, 3/4 ounce, an ounce, or an ounce and a half. And any bar can make that system in place. Put that system in place. And so, a lot of bars only pour an ounce. We pour an ounce and a half at Bar X as far as like shots go. And that's your primary spirit limit. You can only do an ounce and a half. But then you can do secondary spirits up to another ounce of liquor. And then on top of that, you can also do fortified wines, so vermouths and stuff like that. So, I mean, honestly, as far as like making craft cocktails go, we do a really good job. In Utah, there's the law is written so that in Utah, for the most part, you can make a good drink. For some drinks, that's not true. For a proper Manhattan should be 2 ounces of rye whiskey and 1 ounce of vermouth.
And
we can't pour 2 ounces of rye whiskey. So we do an ounce and a half and 3/4 ounces of vermouth. You just keep the proportions. So that kind of sucks, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's only a half an ounce, it's 3/4 ounce total smaller of a drink. But like a Negroni, which a lot of people know, it's equal parts vermouth, Campari, and gin. That we can make that. It's 1 ounce of each. We can make that. It's a 3 ounce drink, but because an ounce of it is vermouth based, we can make it no problem. It's not against the law, even though it's 3 ounces, where people think, oh, how can it be a 3 ounce drink if it's in Utah? And it's like, well, because the vermouth doesn't count towards your hard liquor. So there's 2 ounces of hard liquor and an ounce of vermouth. And so you get a Negroni in my bar, in Bar X, and you get a Negroni in a bar in New York City, it's going to be the same drink. And so I'm constantly defending Utah laws because for the most part,
how do they monitor it though? I mean, how do they how do
they monitor what we pour?
Well, yeah, like what if you put an extra shot in there?
I mean, there's not a good system.
Yeah. I mean, do they send undercovers in occasionally?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That is the threat is the undercovers watching.
Well, yeah, years ago I used to work at 7-Eleven and they would send in, the underagers to buy alcohol or cigarettes and then, if you were the cashier, you're the one who would get slapped with the fine personally.
Right, yeah, you get a personal fine.
Yeah,
and you can lose your ability to serve as well.
In all of Utah, not just at the bar.
Yeah, and that's the thing is people don't understand. Like sometimes when I work at a bar, I get drunk. I have no problems with people getting drunk, but there is a point where you do have to cut people off, like legally. I have to legally not serve you anymore. And people always think that you're being a dick bartender if you're cutting someone off. And it's like genuinely, if there's a DABC agent in the room and they can tell someone's being overserved and you overserve them, I could lose my job. I would have to move. Most likely I would move out of the state because I'd lose my ability to serve alcohol anywhere.
And that could hurt you, and that could hurt you out of state because they'd be like, "Well, why aren't you there?" And
right.
Well, because I did this, and that's interesting. You brought that up because I was actually just talking to somebody the other night about that, and they're like, "Man, I couldn't go into this bar; they wouldn't serve me any alcohol." And I was like, "Man, at the time I was pretty drunk." And I was like, man, you're not even that drunk. Because I've never personally, maybe sometime in my life. I mean, I'm 37 years old, so it's like maybe at one point, but I could never think of a time that I've been cut off. Yeah. And I get pretty sloppy drunk.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you watching for?
Well, I mean,
it's kind of hard to say that there's like, this, and this, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, and the real thing is that it's a case by case basis.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm just curious. I'm just like, how have I never been cut off?
Well, yeah, I mean, and there's stuff like I told a guy once that I couldn't serve him, that he was slurring his speech and he had a speech impediment. You know what I mean?
Wow, yeah.
And so it's a case by case thing. Everyone just needs to be patient with everyone else. Like on both sides of the bar, like as a customer, you got to understand that we're just trying to do our jobs, and as a bartender, you got to understand that people are just trying to have a good time, And
when they're drunk, they're not always they're just thinking about getting that next drink.
Exactly.
They're not thinking about your job. They're not thinking about Michael.
Right.
Yeah.
Know? And so, I mean, it is a tough job, and the DABC definitely makes it tougher. I mean, that's true no matter where you go. There's always going to be sting operations and stuff like that.
Yeah. I was just curious, because I mean, Utah, and I give it, I mean, I've talked shit on it on the podcast before myself, just our liquor laws and all of that. But it's like, really, when everything is said and done, I mean, you can get a good drink here. You can, I mean, we got some great bars here. Bar X being one of my favorites, Bar X and Beer Bar.
Yeah, it's always the people who get really drunk that are the ones who are telling you that you can't get drunk in Utah.
Yeah.
It's always someone will come in from like LA and they'll be telling you how stupid our liquor laws are while they're like wasted drunk because they've never drank at our altitude before in their life. And you get crazy questions. You get people ask if the whiskey is 4% or 3.2% and stuff like that. And it's just
now, is the beer on tap? Can you get a stronger Bud Light or a Coors? I mean, is that the same like that you get from the grocery store?
No, yeah,
like a Bud Light. I'm not talking like a Squatters or any the Epics or any local brews. But.
Yeah, so the way that works is everyone needs to stop saying 3.2, by the way. That's by weight. We're like the only state in the world who weighs anything by weight. So everything by volume, we pour 4% beer. Which most...
I thought it was stronger than 3.2.
Yeah, so by volume, we pour 4%. Standard is 5 to 6%. So honestly, the tap beer is not that much weaker than any other beers. And if you know a lot about beers, there's a lot of sessionable beers. That Hefeweizens and a lot of German-style beers are, they're low% beers anyways. And no one cares about that until they come to Utah and hear the beer is weak. And then everyone starts bitching.
Yeah.
But yeah, Blue Moon on tap is 4%. We don't make Blue Moon in Utah. It's not like they make special Blue Moon for us.
I've heard 4%. Like the Bud Light and all those guys, they do make special beers for Utah. Because isn't there a few states? Is like Utah?
Yeah, there's a few control states that have, but even so, I mean, Budweiser at its highest brews at 5%. They're not in the business of brewing high point beer. That's just not what they do. It's not cost effective. So.
Because they want you to drink more of their shitty beer.
Well, and yeah, I mean, alcohol, for there to be more alcohol, there has to be more sugar in your wort, which means that you have to put something other than cereal into your beer.
Yeah.
And,
You ever brewed your own beer?
I have, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did home brewing before I started bartending, actually. And my girlfriend home brews a lot now. She's a hop bombshell, which is like a really cool ladies brewing club that we have in Utah that does awesome beer.
Oh, right on.
Everything I've ever had that they brewed was amazing. So, yeah, there's cool stuff happening all over, you know. It's fun. The laws that do get to me here is like you can't pour a double, and I understand the reasoning. A double sounds like people are drinking copious amounts of liquor. To someone who doesn't drink alcohol, who's making the law, a double sounds like you're trying to get.
But what is it really stopping? That's the thing. I mean,
Right.
aren't you just going to get another drink? I mean,
Well,
really, when everything's said and done, you're just going to.
And really what happens is instead of someone ordering a nice double scotch on the rocks and sipping on it for an hour, what they do is they'll order a shot of, whiskey, take it right away, and then they'll sip on their scotch on the rocks. So they're drinking the same amount of volume, except they drink half of it right away instead of sipping on it throughout the night. And it's just silly laws. I mean, it's not a law anymore, but you used to only be able to have one bar per block face.
Yeah. Well, that's
Obviously changed downtown if you go downtown.
Right. But that law was in place because they thought it would stop bar hopping, which would in turn stop overconsumption. Well, that was the theory. But all it did is increase drunk driving. That's all it does by having all the bars spread out. So, I mean,
Do you think Utah will ever see neighborhood bars? You know, like you would go out east when I was living in Pennsylvania for a while, and there was a bar literally in a neighborhood. You know what I mean? It's like it would be, I don't know, say even more in Sugar House and in actually a neighborhood. And I'd like to see that because
I do think that'll happen. I don't think it'll happen in the suburbs.
Yeah,
like I don't think it'll happen
like
in Layton.
Sandy. Or
I don't think it'll happen in Sandy, but I think it will happen in like the 15th and 15th area, that little
'Cause there's nothing
area
up
of
there.
shops, or like 9th and 9th. I mean, 9th and 9th kind of half has a tap house, sort of.
Well, then, 9th and 9th, I was thinking Campfire Line. That's more 21st.
That's 21st.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that stuff will definitely happen because honestly, the variances aren't that hard to get. You just have to show support from your community, and then you'll get a variance.
Yeah. Do you see laws loosening up quite a bit since you've been involved, or not really?
I see laws loosening, but I see the DABC cutting budget. The DABC they've cut budgets to the point that a lot of the managers for all the liquor stores are quitting. You know, there was an article in the Tribune just a day or two ago that's about the Third and Third wine store. The manager and assistant manager went to retire, and for whatever reason, they made him not work his last 2 weeks or something like that. And then the assistant manager quit because of the way that they treated him. These two guys have been there for combined like 50 years working for the DABC. It's just, it's silly. There's an attempt to cut back funding. I mean, essentially, liquor sales in Utah have been increasing since the Olympics.
And they were shutting. I mean, they wanted to shut liquor stores, or maybe they even did. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you thinking?
Right. I think the idea is they have no interest in making money. That doesn't appeal to the DABC at all. They're not motivated. They don't run as a business. They're a state entity. And so you stop funding and you like make cuts as far as like labor and stuff. So recently, another thing, I know the manager of the Park City liquor store quit as well, just recently, because the managers went from managing one store to managing two stores with the same amount of pay. So then all of a sudden the assistant managers are becoming new managers and not getting any raises. And then you just see people quitting, and they're just cutting corners. And I guess the idea is, if liquor sales we can't stop people from buying liquor, but we can slow down how fastly the shelves get stocked.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, liquor reps, people who work for liquor companies are going into liquor stores and stocking their shelves for them because they want their products available to the public. Because the people who work at the liquor stores can't keep up with the demand, and because they're not staffed correctly. And I think it's very purposeful and pretty malicious. It's, I don't know. It's interesting.
So how long have you been at Bar X now?
I've been at Bar X for a year now.
A year.
So I mean,
that's the place to be these days. I mean, honestly, I think that's one of the most happening bars. I mean, you stay pretty busy, I'm sure.
Yeah, we're really busy. And beer bar opening has changed our clientele a lot. We're accessing members of the community that weren't interested in Bar X before, and now they are because of beer bar.
Just because they thought it was kind of a higher end.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm honestly, we had a pretentious reputation for a long time, and honestly, before I worked at Bar X, I remember when I was 21-ish. No, maybe I must have been older than that.
You didn't want to go there?
No, well, I tried to get in one time, and they were holding the door, and I drunkenly told the door guy that he wasn't that cool. That your bar's not that cool. You can't hold the door. I was like, this is Salt Lake City. You can't hold the door in Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, we can. I mean, those places are uncomfortably packed every weekend. So.
Well, yeah, and I mean, Bar X, before you had the beer bar to trickle into, I mean, there's not a lot of space in there.
No, it's a small bar, yeah.
Yeah.
And, so I mean...
What's your busiest night of the week there? Probably Saturday?
Friday.
You think Friday's even busier than Saturday?
Yeah, Friday does more business. Yeah.
Really?
Friday's busier than Saturday. Fridays start out busier. Saturdays, most people on Saturdays go to dinner first and then come. So we'll be busy, but not until, sometimes it doesn't ramp up until 10 o'clock, whereas Fridays, as soon as 5 o'clock hits, we start getting people who are just getting off work and want a cocktail. And
what's the craziest thing you've ever seen at a bar? I mean, literally, you ever have somebody just get naked in the bar? I mean, what's the craziest story?
This is ridiculous because it just happened last week.
Yeah.
But what's his name? Steven Seagal came in.
Really?
Steven Seagal came in. He was.
Did he have his ponytail and everything?
Yeah.
Or what?
He was all Seagaled. He was Seagal-y. So Steven Seagal came in. He sent in one of his I don't know. I wouldn't call them bodyguards. I don't know what they were. It was
really?
Someone from their posse, and they were all gigantic, huge, muscular men.
And did people know it was him? People were like, "Holy shit, it's Steven Seagal."
Yeah. So he sent in. So one guy came in, and he went to Seth, who was bartending that night, and said, he said, so Steven Seagal is going to come in. We just want to sit at this corner table, and I know you guys don't normally do table service, but will you do table service for us? And just tipped him in advance. And we're like, yeah, sure. They were looking for a quiet night. Anyways, around 1 o'clock, two customers everyone's drunk at this point, and two customers are, they're, I don't know, for whatever reason, they feel like they need to pick a fight with Steven Seagal. So Steven Seagal and his, four other, huge muscular men are...
Were these big guys or big people that were trying to pick a fight with Steven Seagal?
No, they were normal,
normal people.
Just some dudes that had too much
to drink,
too much liquid courage, I guess. I don't know. But they were trying to pick a fight. Actually, the bouncers from Johnny, a couple of door guys and a bartender from Johnny's, they were over there drinking that night. And so those guys were handling the situation great. Like, we're separating everyone. We're getting
Was this going on in the bar?
Yeah. So they were, nothing was physical. But they were jack-jawing a lot, and it was very aggro. And so we separated them. We got some of them outside, or we got the two customers outside, and then they're giving us lip about like being more loyal to Hollywood than Salt Lake City. And it's just like, no, dude, you're trying to pick a fight, so we're kicking you out of the bar. It has nothing to do with loyalty to Hollywood. Anyways, so then one of Steven Seagal's people says the F word, not the fuck word, but the other F word, calls the other guy.
Oh, yeah.
And that's like, we have no tolerance. We have no tolerance for that word at the bar. And so one of our other bartenders who was there but not working, she lost it and started kicking out Steven Seagal's guys. So we just
what a night.
We just separated this potential fight, but then he said the wrong word. So one of our bartenders is pushing them out into the street towards the guys that are trying to get in a fight with them. And then there was a little bit of a scuffle out in front of the bar. It was just like the most ridiculous.
Well, and it happened to be Steven Seagal.
And it was Steven Seagal.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, go figure. Right?
Yeah.
Any idea why he was in town or what?
They're filming a movie. I think he's here for like months.
To track him down, bring him on the podcast.
Yeah, there'll be Seagal
Come on, Steven, let's talk here, buddy.
Well, and that's the thing is he's like 60 years old or something. Like he just wanted to have a quiet night in the corner, like low key.
He probably picked the wrong bar, really. I mean,
yeah. And he just, I don't know. It's a bummer.
Yeah.
I hate to see stuff like that happen, but it does.
Now, let's talk about chairman for the Utah chapter of the United States Bartenders Guild.
Yeah.
What's that all about? Before we run out of time, I want to talk about this.
I mean, this is definitely something I want to talk about. So the USBG. So the USBG is it's a guild. It's a bartenders guild. It's a worldwide thing. But the USBG is the American chapter of it. The Utah chapter is one of the smallest chapters, but it's quality. I do social media and marketing for them. So I work on the council. Essentially what it is we put on an event once a month that is usually like a tasting of some sort. We bring in brand ambassadors. They come in and talk to us about their brand.
Is that open to the public or is it just...
So it's open to any USBG member. So you don't have to be a bartender to be in the Bartender Guild. In fact, what we really encourage enthusiasts to join the guild, because some of the best bartenders in the history of bartenders were, just started as enthusiasts, just started as people who really enjoyed cocktails. And, it's a great place to, if you're thinking about getting into bartending or, just want to know more and nerd out. It's great because once a month, a bunch of bartenders from Salt Lake get together and just nerd out together, and you get to meet people. And you get all the, besides the education, you get, a lot of like insider information on what's happening and in the scene in general. And
so how do you find out more? Is there like a website or what?
Yeah. So there's a Facebook for the Utah chapter. I'm taking it over.
You're taking it over.
I'm taking it over. So it'll be more consistently updated. There's also a WordPress. But yeah, I mean, you can sign up. You sign up through USBG's usbg.org, is the website, and you can sign up and select the Utah chapter.
Is it free or is it cost money?
It's $100 a year. But
get a T-shirt or
there's no T-shirts, but you go to all the tastings. There's always food and stuff for free. I mean, and that happens once a month, and there's a lot of sometimes twice a month. So honestly, if you go to for two, maybe for sure 3 events, you get your money worth.
So basically, $100 a year. You break that down into 12 months. I mean, that's less than $10 an event.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, wow.
Yeah, and they're awesome. I mean, like just in the very recent, we had Peligroso tequila, relatively new tequila that is. It's new to the Diageo portfolio. Diageo does a lot of work with the USBG. But that's a new tequila that is right now special order in our state, but they're working hard to get it general listed.
Brewed right here in Utah, huh?
No.
Oh,
It's
not brewed or what? Yeah.
Fermented,
distilled.
Yeah.
My mind was still on beer.
Yeah. No, but so Peligroso was our last one. We had Bullet whiskey. Everyone knows Bullet. Tom Bullet, the owner of the distillery, came and did a event at Rye. We did a tasting. He did his little spiel, and we had some food provided by Rye. It was great. We did Oaxaca mezcal. So yeah, I mean, it's like it's in-depth education and also tastings and food and the social aspect. It is very worth it. It's very
to be part of it.
Yeah. Honestly, the USBG, my girlfriend is a liquor rep, and she met her now boss at a USBG event, so for anyone who's trying to get into the industry in any fashion, it's the best way to meet people and kind of get in.
Yeah, it's kind of like I was telling you earlier. I've always had in the back of my head, it'd be fun to be a bartender. You know what I mean? So like, say somebody is interested in becoming a bartender or get into that industry, I guess would be to be part of this and go to these events.
Yeah. That's a great way.
Because it seems kind of tough to break, especially in Utah.
It is
to get into a good bar.
Yeah.
I mean, these bartenders are stuck there. I'm amazed you got into Bar X. I mean,
right.
That would seem like a tough gig to get into.
Well, and I had experience. I had experience, but I still bar backed for a long time before
at Bar X.
Yeah, at Bar X. I was just bar backing for a long time. I'm bartending now, but my first bartending shift was October 4th of last year. But I spent a long time bar backing before, and even though I know classics, like I already have it all memorized. I knew the recipes, I know technique, I know how to do it, but you gotta pay your dues, and that's what it comes down to. Getting your foot in the door means even if you meet awesome people at the USBG, they're probably gonna be able to get you into a bar backing position. But especially if you've never worked in a bar before, you gotta start there just to get used to the hours and the lifestyle and the pace.
Do the hours get rough?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I love them. I'm a night owl anyways.
Yeah.
So I like the hours a lot, but my girlfriend works early in the morning, so it's tough, like social life wise. You have to socialize with other bartenders is pretty much is the gig. But
you guys pretty tight community, Salt Lake bartenders?
Yeah, I would say for the most part, people know each other, especially especially in the cocktail bartending world. Cause I mean, honestly, a lot of restaurants are doing cocktail programs, but as far as like bars doing cocktails, it's like Copper Common, Bar X, and the rest. And that's, I mean, there's other places doing cocktails, but not like classic cocktails, not really nerdy nerdy.
Now, Bar X, don't you have like, don't the bartenders kind of have their own drinks, right? They on the menu. Do you have a drink on the menu?
I do, yeah.
What's your drink?
So this round we pulled our base spirit out of a hat, and I pulled cachaça, which is like rum brandy, essentially.
Never had one.
It's a great spirit, but it is pretty. There's not a lot of cocktails. The Caipirinha is the famous cachaça cocktail, but there's not a lot of cocktails with it because it is kind of a funky spirit to work with. But my cocktail right now on the menu is called the Rope Swing, and it's a nice like light springy this is cachaça, agave, creme de cassis, which is like a berry liqueur, and then muddled cucumber, soda water, and mint.
Sounds a little fancy.
Yes, it's really light. It's like patio weather drinking. So,
which is pretty much now. I mean, the weather is great.
We just barely changed our menu. So our new menu is like very, very like patio. Like,
do you guys pick up like more in this? Probably more in the summer, right? People don't go out as much in the winter, right? Or do you notice a difference as the seasons change here in Salt Lake?
Bar X is really consistent, regardless of the season. There's a couple of lulls in the shoulder seasons. This winter was quote unquote slow, but not like
we didn't even have a winter.
Yeah. It was. I mean, we are pretty consistently busy. I think. Yeah, summer's big. Spring and summer are big.
Yeah.
People. There's just so much going on downtown in spring and summer. So, everyone wants you want to be downtown and you want to be outside. So.
And then the We Drink SLC Instagram, what is that? Is that just something you came up with, or?
Yeah. So it's my attempt. It's essentially like working in restaurants. Like when Copper Onion opened, like there was not a huge food scene in Salt Lake, you know. And when Copper Onion opened, I'm not saying they're the only ones who did it, but between them and Pago, Finca, you know, all these great restaurants all of a sudden started popping up. It was because of the foodie movement, and foodies are terrible and great at the same time, but it made food cool, you know, and it made people want to try new restaurants and want to go to new places. And so that We Drink SLC is kind of an attempt to do that for cocktail, or not even cocktails, but just like to try to get drinking culture to have the same kind of community where people are, you know, they're posting about like, I had this really good whatever here, took a tour of this brewery, you know, that kind of stuff. It's like, so that it's an attempt to do like almost like a foodie thing, but for drinks, a drinky thing.
And people can follow that on Instagram at We Drink SLC, all one word.
Mm-hmm. And it's, the idea is that people would use the hashtag and then,
I got you.
So then you can search the hashtag and you can see what's going on in the city.
That makes
essentially
sense. I like that. I know I probably have stumbled upon it, but I'm going to keep a better eye on that. You know, I go through waves of Instagram. Yeah. You know, where
I'm like, I don't have a Facebook. I don't like doing social media when it's like for my personal life. I'd rather not. But
you like to keep your personal life private.
Yeah, exactly.
I respect a man that does that, because sometimes I feel like I just put way too much of myself out there, and I've gotten to the point where it's just like, screw it, I'm sharing it all.
Yeah. But I do really like, you know, posting if I have a thing to go for, like if it's about the USBG or if it's about, you know, We Drink SLC, like I'm down to post that kind of stuff because it's not about me. It's about something else. So
Anything else going on here in Salt Lake, or anything you want to like? Anything going on at Bar X, or any events coming up over the next few weeks that you want to plug or mention? Or I mean, I'll try to get the links of what we've talked about at the IamSaltLake.com website. Anything else you want to mention before we wrap up here that I didn't maybe cover on?
I think that people have more power than they think they do. And especially we talk about liquor laws being tough for the DABC this and whatever. And I think that if people are vocal and become part of a community and build a real community, that things will change for the better in Salt Lake City. And I think they already are. But I just think there's a lot of things that we don't need to accept as like, this is the way things are here, because things will change, and they are changing, and they'll continue to change. But that change only comes with the demand of the community that we live in. And I think the demand is there. I just think we need to be vocal to the right people about it. And one of the things that I hear from the state legislator all the time is that there's not a drinking culture in Utah. So we don't have to change our liquor laws because there's not a drinking culture here. And
look at all the great locally brewed beers.
Yeah,
I mean, that alone should tell you there's a drinking culture here.
Yeah, exactly. And I just think we can be vocal and we can be seen, and there's a lot of ways to do that, whether it's actually talking to your senator and getting things changed, or if it's, I don't know, using a stupid hashtag on Instagram. It's our city. And I think we can make real change in our city. And, I don't know. I know that's not an event that I plugged.
No. And I mean, honestly, it's like you pulled the words right out of my mouth. I mean, that's even what this podcast is. It's like Salt Lake is a badass city.
It is, yeah.
And we can either sit by on the sidelines and do nothing and complain, or we can actually get out and do something.
Right.
Yeah. How can people find you or get in touch with you? I guess come down to Bar X, right?
Yeah, I'm at Bar X a lot. Yeah, like almost every day. So there's that. And though We Drink SLC is my easily accessible, social media, I guess. Yeah, I don't know.
What do you want written on your tombstone when you die?
I've always wanted to have, my motto, like my kind of motto on my tombstone. It's just, we'll figure it out. Like, I think it's funny for that to be on a tombstone because you're dead, but it's kind of just like how I live my life is like we'll figure it out. You know, we're going to figure it out.
I love it. Thanks a lot, Michael.
Yeah, no problem.